gentlemen, welcome back to another Mavs Talk video on the Glow Sun Production channel. Before we get started, obviously, I'd like to introduce my main partner in crime. We got Will. What's going on, family?
Yeah, man. Let's get this MFFL talk in there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We also wanted to kind of just do a quick shout out. We noticed that some of the videos that we posted recently has gained some traction and got a couple of new subscribers. So want to shout you guys out. Appreciate the love. And as we say at the end of every episode, be sure to like and subscribe. Also, hit the notification bell so whenever we have a video uploaded, you'll get the notification that it's dropped. You can check it out. We also want you guys to continue to engage. So please comment on things you agree with on the video, things you don't agree with. If you have certain topics you'd like for us to discuss, we welcome all of it. So certainly feel free to leave a comment, share the videos, tell a friend, all that good stuff. So today we're gonna deep dive a little bit more into some of the Mavs offseason stuff, which is crazy because we normally have like Cowboys offseason stuff that kind of like takes over the offseason and more of the summer talk. So it's rare that it's actually Mavs stuff. I don't know how I feel about it, but it's content, so that's always positive.
Fresh.
Yeah, fresh stuff. So going to discuss a couple offseason topics, discuss some free agency, but we're going to kick off with is kind of following up on some recent developments that we were made privy to by some reports regarding Rick Carlisle's departure and just certain things that were reportedly developing towards the end and after he decided to resign and ultimately sign with the Indiana Pacers as their head coach. We talked about a little bit before in previous videos about some of the comments he made about the Indiana Pacers team as a squad and how they were non-selfish and, play as a team, all this other stuff, and kind of questioning whether those were digs at anybody on this side, versus, what he's doing there. I feel like you have to talk up the new team because you're there, certainly.
Of course.
But I also know that Rick's not a dummy. So I think he is very aware of what he says and how it can be interpreted. So he's usually generally careful with what he says. And so I think whenever he does say something, there's probably some validity to it in terms of whether or not there's a little bit of, taking some shots out the door. But Will, I wanted to get your opinion on that. And also what we had recently discovered in terms of how he apparently felt threatened by Jamal Mosley's relationships with some of the players. Obviously, Luka Doncic is one of them. And that potentially being the reason why he decided to endorse the hiring of Jason Kidd as opposed to supporting the potential hiring of his lead assistant coach while he was with us. So just give us your thoughts on that, how you feel about that, and just your opinions on how this has been handled on the way out for Rick.
So typically I love the petty because, I'm a petty person. But for this one, it was like the more you hear of it or hear about it, it's like, okay, I can start to see a little bit why he would end up doing it. And then also why the Mavericks had listened to him on it as well. Because like you alluded, so he had a good relationship with Luka, especially after I think they played New York for that one game where Rick had that false positive. Right. And afterwards, Luka was like, "Yeah, this coach gonna be Coach Mosley gonna be a head coach at some point in this league. He gonna get it in." So that had like a good relationship. Had mad respect for each other. So like with Carlisle leaving, immediately it's like, okay, like this the natural progression would be as for us to get a good look at the assistant because it's not a losing team. Like they made the playoffs. Last year they went 6 games. This year they went 7 games. So against a team that's legitimate a title contender. Right. So for them to actually be moved forward, say, okay, so you can actually, for the most part, this person, of course, the ideology would be a little bit different, but for the most part, you can keep some things the same.
Yeah.
So it was mad weird for them for them to basically, even if they really didn't listen to Rick, but the way that they did it made it seem like they did listen to Rick because
Hmm.
they went and got Jason Kidd. They didn't take Jamal Mosley as a serious uh,
Candidate, maybe.
choice, yeah, or
Hmm.
candidate as far as the head coaching position. Because I feel like he's done his time. He's by far, especially on the defensive side of the Mavericks ball, like you can see when they actually pay attention to him, like they get their defense in. Because
Right.
even with that New York game, like they were trash the first half. He cuts them out in the second half, telling them to play defense, and then they lock them down and win the
Yep.
game. So
Hmm.
it's just insane. Like he's at this point, of course, he's going to end up going somewhere else. It's expected. It's not been heavily considered or
Hmm.
seriously considered as a candidate. So I'm hoping wherever he goes, I hope it's in the East so I can actually cheer for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
being honest. When I'm in the East, I'll be able to cheer for him. Won't feel bad that he's doing his work over there because just like his name skips my mind, but like the coach who went down to Houston. Like I like him, but now he's coach of Houston. That,
Yeah.
that's tough. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was. I think it was just petty on Rick, and I think he knew he was doing it just because Mosley and Luca had a good relationship.
It's weird because I know you're referring to Steven Silas. What's weird is that like that's going to end up being two assistant coaches that were under Rick that had head coaching abilities that we just let walk.
Mhm.
Um, and that's not a good. I don't know what the reason for that is. The only thing I can think of, and we haven't really discussed this specifically, but we've kind of talked around it. Um, there is an issue with maybe Mark not liking potentially Steven or Jamal because they may actually like speak up or not necessarily fall in line exactly the way he wants them to. And maybe there's a conflict in um, what they're trying to do, where they have a certain interpretation of what they feel like is a better, whether it's a better system or better technique and approach to coaching that is not as yes sir that as Mark would want it. And so I don't know
Mhm.
if it's a conflict of philosophies or what, but it's just weird that obviously Steven's house is in a unique situation where he gets to Houston and all of a sudden you think you're getting a James Harden and all of a sudden now it's like I'm in a rebuild all of a sudden.
Mhm.
So that situation is different. So it's hard to really judge what he's been able to do right now because his team's completely different from what it was the first day he got there. So I think it's kind of the jury's still out. But he was also one of those guys that players talked about being worthy of being the head coach someday outside of the Mavs, other players
Mhm.
endorsing him. Obviously, being the son of a former coach, that pedigree is already there. And then now we have this issue with Jamal Mosley where other people are endorsing him as a coach. Everybody except for Mark seems to think that he would be a good coach. And all of a sudden, we don't even interview him. Or I don't want to say we don't know that for sure, but the speculation is that he never really got a fair shake at the job, which to me just doesn't really make any sense. I think that the fact that there was a conflict between him and Rick means that there is a conflict in philosophies there. And like you said, the way the team responded to him when they played the Knicks that game, and how you can kind of see on the bench the way they interact with him, there's certainly a
Yeah.
rapport there that I would think Mark would look at and say, why waste my time looking out, looking outside the house when I have somebody in house that clearly has the respect of the team already, that is that voice that they're listening to, which they weren't listening to Rick anymore. So you have that working in his advantage. It's just a little weird. Like we've said this the whole time, which is
Yeah.
like some of this stuff
It's
doesn't really
weird.
make any sense.
Hmm.
Obviously, they get paid way more than us to figure this stuff out. But there's a lot of backlash that's happening with the Jason Kidd hire that they would just completely avoid if they just went with the guy who makes the most sense. And it would be something. I don't know how much backlash you get for that. I mean, obviously, maybe folks will say he don't have no experience, but Jason Kidd's experience he has ain't great. So there's no you can look at
And
that and say, well, he's killing it. You know what I mean?
exactly.
just very frustrating. Any thoughts on just the fact that they didn't even consider him, is what the reports are saying.
It pisses me off, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like it actually it irritates me because he's a legitimate head coach on your bench that's worthy of having that opportunity. So if they would have said that, okay, yeah, we interviewed him and okay, it wasn't that he didn't knock it out the park, but Jason Kidd interview, he knocked it out the park, or just from okay, he was an assistant on the championship team. Was
Mm-hmm.
able to sit basically right chair right there as far as getting the information and getting a better understanding of the game and how to
Mm-hmm.
coach up. It's like
Yeah.
okay, I can see that, but not to consider the guys to me is it's bad. It's
Yeah.
bad. But I do hope that Nico will be able to clean up a lot of Mark's shortcomings because that's what a lot of this is his shortcomings of that I continuously come back to. I think he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. He may be
Mm-hmm.
the wealthiest, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he is the smartest, especially when it comes to basketball.
Right.
I tech stuff, okay, I give it to him, but uh, basketball is. I don't think he's the smartest guy in the room when it comes to basketball. It's just the proof is in the pudding,
Mm-hmm.
and the failures that's been happening over basically the past decade since the championship team. So
Mm-hmm.
now he's bringing the championship team back a decade later and having them in front office and head coaching and assistant coaches areas instead of on the court. So
Yeah. I
just a
mean, we
failure.
didn't ask for all that. We asked for that 10
Exactly.
years ago. I mean,
Exactly.
and we
You
didn't
were
ask
supposed
for
to
it
get
now.
that to us in 2011,
Well,
2012,
exactly.
and you allowed Tyson to go to New York. You let JJ go to Minnesota. Like, what is this foolishness, bro? Nah.
Yeah.
But I do. My thing is, they should have talked to Jamal, just so that if he decided to move on, then it would have been his choice at that point. Because like I understand, like now it's still his choice, but
Yeah.
then it still would have been the option of okay, once kid gets in, they can talk. If he wants to stay, stay. If not, good luck on your endeavors type of
Right.
situation. But it was just cut off. Nah. At
Yeah.
that
And
point, yeah, it was like he's not gonna stay.
right. I just, because why would he stay? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
I hope that there is like some sort of, because like I said, I talked about this, I think, in one of our other videos, like, Jason Kidd should have been on the phone with Jamal like as soon as he got the word that he was getting hired, just saying, look,
Mhm.
regardless of where they felt you were a good candidate or not, I think you are a talented coach, and I would love to have you on my staff. Like,
Yeah.
try and nip that in the bud if you can, just to retain him. And if you have the ability to at some point, use him to recruit. Like if there's all these players in the league that respect him so much, allow him the opportunity to recruit, allow him, give him more responsibilities to mold himself even more so that you can capitalize on that success by keeping your job here. And on top of that, you propel him to get a job somewhere else. I don't know what the
Okay.
lose is there. Only thing I can think of is that he may feel like if he starts off slow or if things will go well the first year, people are going to look at Jamal and say, y'all should have hired him, or y'all should get
Yeah.
rid of the kid and make him the coach. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if there's no insecurity about his job, if there's no insecurity about his job security, I think there's a kid should hire him, because it's like, if you feel confident in what you're able to do, what's wrong with having a strong staff behind you to help you and make you even better, especially considering the fact that you got something to prove now, because people are looking at you like you deserve a job. And, everybody's got the right to have that opinion, but, ultimately it's up to him to prove us wrong, I think. So
Yeah.
it's
And I think the big thing with this Mavericks team right now it's recruiting. You have to have people in positions that would be able to push for recruiting.
right.
Keeping Jamal would help recruiting. Jason Kidd has respect for players around the league that helps with recruiting. You have Nico in the front office helps with recruiting, And then the only thing is like Luca is overseas during the summer, so he doesn't really recruit as much in the off season.
Right.
But during the season, possibly. But it's just right now with Rick gone, now you can actually do heavy recruiting to be able to have a better opportunity at free agents.
Yep. And that's a perfect segue to our next topic. So I appreciate the alley oop right there.
Oh yeah, I can.
So one of the other things we wanted to discuss, particularly regarding free agency, as you mentioned, is we have a player who is getting ready to test free agency, and Tim Hardaway Jr., a guy who we've talked about in several videos, and depending on who you talk to on the channel, there's different opinions about what we should do or shouldn't do.
Yeah.
But one of the things that's been in the news recently is that there's been interest on his end to go potentially play for the Miami Heat. Now he's from there. Obviously, his dad played there for several years. His dad's jersey is hanging in the Raptors in their arena.
Yeah.
He's one of the all-time greats, great Miami Heat players in the history of their organization. So I can certainly see the intrigue from him and wanting to play for that team. The same team his dad playing on. His dad can probably go to more games if he played for Miami because we see how he plays when his dad's in the building. So I want to hear your thoughts on I'll just put it this way. There is talk about potential trading if that happens to where maybe Tyler Hero could end up being here. Obviously, I think if there's a way to get somebody back in return for losing him, that's a preferred option, obviously.
Of course.
But he made $18 million last year, and so there are reports that he wants at least 20 this year. So my question, I guess, for you is twofold. Would you be okay with having Tyler Hero here to replace him? And B, if there is not a trade and there is a desire for him to stay here, what's your max as far as how much you'd be willing to pay to re-sign him to bring him back into the fold?
So yes, I would like to have Tyler Hero because you know where I would put him? Right on my bench. I love to build up that bench. I love it. I love that bench because that's where you can make or break the game do with your bench. But yeah, what's our, I'm trying to see what our cap space is.
So I was talking to Rel about this, and he mentioned this in another video. Apparently, how Hardaway's contract is set up, his extension wouldn't necessarily affect the cap space because we're at around $30 million cap space. Okay. So because we have his bird rights, re-signing him, we would be able to go over the cap to sign him back.
Okay.
So even though he may not eat up that cap space, so basically, I think the way we was explaining it was, you can go out and get whoever you want to get and sign them, and once you have them signed, whatever room is left, you can use that and go over to sign Tim because you already have his bird rights. So if you have the bird rights, you're able to actually go over the cap and not be penalized for it. So I don't think his money would dictate or take away from the free agent money they have, which I believe at this point is close to, not right at $30 million in cap space.
Okay. So yeah, I would rather sign and trade him for Tyler.
Okay.
They're a little bit cheaper. You can get a younger player. Not necessarily a better shooter. He does. Tyler does hit good shots, but when you see a good THJ with Singer in the building, he gets going.
It's happening.
Exactly. But I think if the opportunity is there to get a younger, cheaper player, I think it would be worth it just because moving forward helps with your cap space. But as far as if that was the only option were to sign him, I guess I wouldn't be too mad at the around 21 to 22. Just because he did put, especially in a good portion of our series with the Clippers, he did show up at different games. So I wouldn't mind the 21, 22 because he has put in good work to be at least a more consistent scorer than what he was when he first got here. Plus, he's got he became a better off the ball shooter, gets a jump shooter, shooting off the dribble. Because as soon as he put the ball between his legs, you know he's about to shoot.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I wouldn't mind. Yeah, if we just sign him back, I wouldn't be upset with it either way. So if we sign him, keep it around 21, 22. If he is to go to Miami, if we could do a signing trade to where we could get like a Tyler Hero or just someone to where can give us good uh, play, then I wouldn't be upset with it at all. I'm always trying to get players back for folks, you know,
Yeah.
like what they did with Rick. But yeah, I'm always trying to get players back.
Yeah, I think if what I've been reading, like Miami's cap space is not very good. So I don't know what they would be able to offer him, and I don't know if it would be more than what we would. I don't know because I know Victor Oladipo is there. He's making like $20 million a year, but his contract is about to come up. So I know that money will come out their books. So I don't know if they were trying to use that money for it, if they were trying to re-sign him. I'm not really sure.
Back to
But
the
I
day,
think it would kind of be one of those things where we have to be either him or Victor. And I would think that Miami would rather keep Victor, but I don't know. But yeah, I look, and if you can get Tyler Hero, that's fine. I don't know how they work that trade out because he's only making like $4 million or something because he's on his rookie deal still. So I don't know how that would work out financially. And I would think that they would have to give up more than that to make the
to
trade.
bounce out.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if for me, if the question is, would you rather have Tyler Hero or Tim Hardaway Jr.? I'd rather have Tim Hardaway Jr. But if I know he's walking and I can get something back for him, then yeah, give me Tyler Hero if that's a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We had a discussion, Rel and I, last time, the last video that we had from Mavs Talk that you weren't a part of about certain free agents. And we mentioned your name in there specifically because you've been banging the table for a lot of things. You banged the table and get rid of Rick back when I was 15 years old. You were banging the table to get compensation for him when he was walking, and you've been banging the table for DeMar DeRozan coming here. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to give your, I guess, pitch for why you feel like it's a good fit because obviously you were on your last video. So
Yeah.
I want to take your thunder. I want to give you the opportunity. So I'm going to hand it over to you. And hopefully DeMar can see this so that we can give him the video as to why you should come and be a Dallas Maverick.
All right. So when it comes to DeMar DeRozan, he is that star that he's that star that you need. All right. So when he was with Toronto, they had him and Kyle Lowry. They went as far as they could in the conference finals and put in work. To me, he is that player that you want in the playoffs. He creates a mixed match. He can actually play because it's not the shutdown defense, but he can actually stay in space. All right. The same way that you see Luca. Luca's not a shutdown defender, but you see him a few times throughout the game. He D'd up. He was able to D up Kawhi, D up different players. It's just timing. All right.
Yeah.
That's what DeMar can bring you. What does Dallas also need? Another ball handler and a shooter. This is what he does. All right. What I love about his game is his mid-range game.
Yes.
I'm just gonna be honest. His mid-range, it kills the Mavericks. That's when I watch most of his games. Is when they're playing the Mavericks either with Toronto or with the Spurs. It's just hey, they're playing. Let me go ahead and watch it, see he'll put in work.
Right.
And that was the big thing is because if you notice a lot of the for the even for the playoffs, if you either live by the three or you die by the three, look at what happened to Utah.
Yeah.
Utah would hit 10 threes in the first half, but only up by 3 or 4 on the Clippers. They go cold in the second half. Clippers beat them, and it was just consistent with that. And so I feel like if you The three will be there, but you need somebody in that middle area to be able to control the game. And DeMar does that. You see it
Yeah,
consistently when he's on the court that he's able to have the ball to go through him. His turnovers are low. He's able to make the right plays as well. He has a high basketball IQ. To me, he will be that strong extra piece to be able to put us towards the top of the league. I'm just going to be honest because I feel like the way that Luca the way that Luca plays already has us. If we would have had a regular like the no COVID, the 18 games of COVID that they struggled through, plus the ice. I feel like if they didn't have all that, the team would have been actually a top 14, maybe
yeah,
even like number three,
mhm,
just to be honest. So
yeah,
you have a player that by himself has you in a top three position, and now you add another player that actually was trying to drag his team into at least the play-in.
yeah.
You you add that combination, bro. It's going to be doing work because it's just it'll work out. And the big thing that makes me nervous is so I feel like it will be the hard part is trying to get the money to work out. Because
Mhm.
if you sign Timmy, if it's cut into the 30, it's going to be hard to sign him because he's going to want a good comp because he's of course
Right,
deserving.
right.
So I think the big thing with it is playing it smart. Stay in Texas, tax free. You
Hmm.
don't have to move the family too far. You just come straight up, come straight up 35.
35. Yep.
Uh, come to the best Texas team
That's facts.
and you go from dealing with the play-in to actually trying to get home court throughout the playoffs at that point. And I think he wouldn't mind doing that. I think he'll also be able to. Um, he'll have a good opportunity to put his stamp on the game. As you saw how much that he put in to Toronto, and then as soon as Kawhi was like, "Yo, I want to go," I just got need to get out of San Antonio. So boom, sent him down to San Antonio for Kawhi. Then boom, Toronto wins the championship. So I feel like he might still feel a little disrespected in that. And coming to the Mavericks, I think he would actually have a great chance to get his revenge on the league. Come to Dallas.
Yeah, so I think this will be the first time I think he'll have the opportunity to actually pick where he wants to go.
Yeah,
Obviously drafted by Toronto and then traded to Spurs. So this will be the first time he actually has the opportunity to be a free agent and kind of field different offers and stuff like that.
yeah,
He's made $27.7 million the past 3 years. And so he's 32, or he will be 32 before the season starts.
yeah.
So my hope is that he looks at it as, look, I'm 32. I don't know how many more years I have left. I've gotten good money. I've gotten close to championship. I've never gotten there.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to take a little bit less that I can get for, a team that's not necessarily there yet, and come to a team like Dallas that has a decent core that I can add to. He has the playoff experience that we don't have. He has that veteran. I'm not sure. He doesn't really seem like he's a vocal type, so I can't say he's gonna be like a vocal leader, but at least someone to kind of lead by example. I think he could do that, and I think that he kind of built more of a leadership role with that Spurs team because they're so young now. They
Absolutely.
turned over
Yeah.
so quickly that he kind of ended up being, especially when LaMarcus Aldridge just left, he ended up being the older, the OG of the team, so to speak. So I think he has that experience. And I think there is that playmaking aspect. He's not necessarily like a big assist guy, but he knows the game well. Like you say, he's got high basketball IQ. And even though he can't shoot a three, he has the ability to facilitate well enough. He had 7 assists last year.
Yeah.
So, or 7 assists per game last year. So he does distribute well enough. And if you can surround him by shooters, surround him with shooters, when he's trying to penetrate, if that shot's not there, he has guys you can kick it out to in the wing that can shoot the three. So, and like you said, another ball handler, a guy who can actually let Luka go get some rest.
Exactly.
And be able to have somebody on the court that can still maintain creating shots, getting other guys involved, and not having that, like we talked about, I think it was Ray about this up in the previous video, how, when, like, if you look at the dynamic that Houston had when they had James Harden and Chris Paul, James Harden and Russell Westbrook, yeah, they started the game together, but the rest of the game, they were kind of staggered as far as, all right, Chris Paul, you're the primary ball handler when you're in the game. James Harden, you're the primary ball handler when you're in the game. They can do that with Luka. Instead of him playing 43 minutes a night, maybe he can play 36 minutes a night or 34 minutes a night and save him for later on when he's not, hauling ass in the fourth quarter. He can't play. And that's one of the things that people talk about. Oh, Luka, he does all this stuff in the beginning of the game, but he's not available in the fourth quarter. It's like he's tired. He's been carrying 12 guys for 36 minutes. When it's like the fourth quarter, he don't have nothing left. That's not his fault. Can he be better conditioned? Sure, but I mean that ain't gonna mean nothing if you play 100 games already and you're in June or in May. Like all that time adds up. So those minutes that you can potentially have him actually resting and not having that steep fall off in production that we see every time he goes to the bench, that will help. So to your point, I think DeMar would be a good person to complement that. I think
my number one free agent.
Do you? I feel like it's gonna sound weird, but I feel like in order to maximize him, I think KP got to stay.
Yeah, I want him. I want KP to stay.
I think KP got to stay.
He's in a off season healthy, so we got to keep KP. That's like I think you talked about it earlier. Like this is the first time KP been gone into the off season healthy in like 3 years. But that
Since before he got hurt.
Like that's insane. So with him actually healthy, yeah, I want to keep KP because to me that would move KP to the number 3 as far as talent. KP at the number 3, your team is better. Your team is better.
Hopefully, if they talk to him right, it's like he doesn't have to feel that pressure of having to be a number 2. And hopefully him not having it on his shoulders can free him up to just kind of be, all right, I'm just going to play my game and not have to worry about, I got to put up 25 points a game, or I'm not, if there's somebody to kind of offset that, then that's something that would really help him, I hope, and that he's able to just kind of say, well, now I can just kind of fall back and just play my game, be a lot more comfortable. He could produce more.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that would be awesome. And if we can keep Tim Hardaway and come off the bench.
That'd be fantastic.
That'd be fantastic. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
I think if Dallas were to sign DeMar, I think Timmy would want to stay, to be honest. I think Timmy would want to stay because I think he'll see what's going on and be like, let's run this back a little bit, a couple more years. Let's run it back a couple more times.
The only thing about that is I know that Timmy said a bunch of times that he prefers starting. And I think in that situation, if DeMar came, he would come off the bench because I think you still start Dodo for his defense. And you probably start either some sort of combination of Maxey and KP or Dwight Powell and KP. So that means that he would come off the bench. So would he be willing to come off the bench for a good situation versus as a free agent, he's going to hear another team saying, hey, we can pay you 24 and you can start. So I think it'll really matter what, I think at that point, we'll see what he really wants, right? Like, is it really just a payday or do you want to play for a team that can contend? Because there may be other teams that can offer him more to start, but their roster's not going to be what we could potentially have with him. And that what could be really a four-headed monster, obviously, if you think about between him, KP, Luka, and DeMar, that would be, you want to talk about a difference maker.
Exactly.
So that's an interesting dynamic. I hope. I mean, I don't want to get excited about it, but I'll ask you this real
It's
quick
there.
before we move on.
Mhm.
Let's just kind of throw hypotheticals out there. Let's just throw one more out there. Let's say that Timmy says, "You bring in DeMar, I'm leaving," so he bounces. There's been rumblings about potentially getting Kyle Lowry and DeMar to reunite back here or back in Dallas.
Mhm.
If Mark Cuban, forget Mark Cuban, because if he called, I'm probably gonna answer. If Nico called you, if Nico Harrison called you and said, "Will, I'm stuck on this. I need your opinion. I got two choices to make. I'm trying to decide which one makes the most sense. Do I keep Tim Hardaway and let him stay and pay him $23 million,
Mhm.
or do I let him walk and sign Kyle Lowry for cheaper?
I'm
Which one
signing
would you
Cal. I'm signing Cal, and then I'm starting to look for trade partners.
for?
Jalen.
Wow, for real?
Yeah.
So even though Kyle Lowry's 35 and he's probably got maybe 2 more years left, and
Yep.
JB's got a potential to be a six man for however long he wants to stay in that role.
Which increases his value.
Yes, but now
Because
it's like,
what I'm
don't.
looking at because what I'm
Yeah,
looking at is uh, what we saw in the Clipper series.
yeah,
So when late in the so in the Clipper series, Jalen didn't get in because he was struggling. They put a
yeah.
big defender on him, and it basically nullified him. For Kyle takes himself out the game when it comes to scoring. When he goes through stretches of not scoring, what was it like? I think it was the fourth quarter for some of the playoff games. I think that was more of him and him having to get over the mental block of that. But once he got over that, he got rolling. You, he's a scorer. He's able to facilitate as far as when it comes to Jalen, he's good. He can facilitate and everything, but we saw his weakness. Being a big defender on him was a huge liability, and that's also what took away time for Luka to be able to get rest. Was
Mm-hmm.
because it became a liability of not being able to
To rely on.
keep exactly. So I believe that having been able to get both DeMar and Kyle allows for Luka to get that much more rest, trust that the offense keep rolling. So then, boom, you can at this point when you the trade partners that you're looking for, you're looking for defense at this point. You're looking for
Yeah,
3-and-D. You're
yeah.
trying to solidify the perimeter defense and try to get somebody inside that can get rebounds, but also can be able to defend the perimeter as well. So I would go for Kyle just because now it gives me it puts me in a position to make trades to improve my defense. So, but hopefully this time around they actually improve it.
Is Was JB's appearance or performance in these playoffs the first? Like, was this the first time it made him expendable to you, or did you always feel like he could be part of a deal to get somebody better?
I was part of a deal because he played so well this year. He finished what number 4 in the 6 man.
Yeah, 4 or 5 or 6 million, yeah, somewhere
Yeah,
in there.
so that's all I've been wanting to focus on. Is like I just need Jalen to put together like a couple seasons of just great off the bench play. So then when his contract is starting to expire, somebody's gonna want that contract because it's already low. Being a second round guy, rookie
Yeah,
still on his rookie deal, so it's already going to be low. So
yeah.
now it's getting ready to expire, you can be able to get somebody nice with that. So that's what I've been looking forward to.
So I think that would have to probably put, which I know you'll be fine with it, but I think because his contract is so small,
Mhm.
and they would have to put somebody with him to get somebody worth the if some, because I think we're wanting somebody that's more established and that can be, like you said, a wing defender potentially. So we all know Josh Richardson's going to opt into his contract, right?
Yeah.
So that 10 million or 11 million is that he's got on his, coupled with JB, should be enough to get a guy that's around $14 million a year, somewhere in the threshold, that can come in and be a contributing factor. I have not wanted to trade JB at all. I feel
I know. I know.
I think like he's been the one guy up until this series that we know we can depend on the bench to actually give Luka a rest.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't mean anything the whole year if you can't do it in the playoffs. And so this is the first time where I've been like, we gotta get rid of him. We gotta get rid of him. I've always been like, no, we gotta keep him. But yeah, I think if you can, because we know, I think Jay Rich is gonna opt into his player option. So I think if you can couple that and JB's contract and maybe even Willie, because Willie's got a team option. All three of those assets, if you can kind of put those together to get somebody that's a solid bench player, I'm here for that. So actually, that's a really good idea. So I just, man, because the only thing I think about is now it's like Kyle's 35, he'll be 36. So it's like now you're starting over as far as who am I going to bring in to back up Luka? You know what I mean? Like when you have a guy who I feel like is shown that he has the ability to do it. And maybe you look at, because obviously last year's playoffs, or 2 years, I guess, in the bubble, he was hurt, so he didn't get any experience there. This is his first time in the playoffs, and maybe the moment was too big for him, and maybe he just needed that experience to learn from. But we don't really have a lot of time to just go to hang around for maybe. So it's just tough, man. And I'm so glad it's not my job. Because that's a tough call.
It is tough.
Now you depend on the draft again, and they don't draft well, so it's like, who are you going to turn to be a new backup for?
Different folks, though. Different folks. Remember, if they can find give them a chance.
I'm just saying the only reason why there's still skepticism there is because Mark is still there. If they can find a way to lock Mark up somewhere and he don't make it to the war room, I'm cool with that. But that he's the only reason why there's skepticism there, because it's like, yeah, Nico can recommend someone, and we have Jason Kidd, who I feel like, because he was a point guard, will hopefully have the ability to scout younger guards to feel like who may be a good fit. But if Mark doesn't sign off on that, then it doesn't matter what they say. So I think that's just why. But we'll see. Last thing I want to touch on before we get out of here, man. Obviously at the time we're recording this, the Suns have made it to the finals. So shout out to them. And we also have the Bucks and Hawks series still going, but at this point, the Bucks are one away from making it to the finals. So just looking at the three teams that are left between the Suns, the Hawks, and the Bucks, there are a couple of folks that are going to be free agents soon, and I wanted to get your opinion on a couple of them. So first. Is a guy who is playing for Milwaukee Bucks, Bobby Portis, who I think got drafted by the Bulls initially out of Arkansas. I think maybe kind of wasn't ready for the role they had for him at that particular point in time, and so he ends up getting moved to Milwaukee, and he's kind of filling in well there as a guy off the bench, their sixth man, basically stepped up and played big in the game 6. Game 5, when Giannis wasn't able to play really well in that game. So just your thoughts on him and whether you would be interested in trying to pursue him for agency in the offseason.
I see. I would. He's definitely somebody that I would reach out to test the waters with, because I feel like building up so we had, when I was talking about the trade partners.
Yeah.
Part of the trade partners, I would put in Dwight or Max Kleber, because with that's why I would want to go after Bobby, is to be able to get that spot, because I feel like he's a better shooter than both of them. were better scored and both of them more athletic, and then being able the defensive side of the ball is better as well, and that's what you're going to need uh, if your main players are uh, Luka, KP, DeMar, and Kyle. If those are your four main players, you need additional defense. It's just being honest. You need that somebody has to play defense. So I
Yeah.
think that's where Bobby will be very big on that end, being able to get it done. So
On
I
that
would definitely look at it.
on that same, and I think it also, I think, and I'll just give my quick 2 cents. I think he'd be great off the bench. Like that's a fantastic big off the bench that we just do not have right now. And I think having that kind of guy to shore up, even when KP tends to get in foul trouble often, you have a guy that can come in and contribute. His offensive game, I think, is underrated. Honestly, I mean, he can shoot the ball really, really well,
Yeah.
and has a good face-up game. Also, I think there was just too much pressure on him to be the guy at Chicago, and he just may not be a number one, but he can be a contributing player. We saw that. We've seen this so far in this series that
Yeah.
when his number's been called, he's been able to step up. He's not going to give you 20 points a game necessarily, but if he can be in that 16 to 18 range, like I mean, even 16 is fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But maybe 6 boards, which we struggle with that as well. For some reason, bigs just we don't get it done. So
Yeah.
I think just having that body, that extra body that can come off the bench and be solid, and we can go to, and instead of having to start Boban, maybe you can make a move where you're starting Bobby, and that gives you more versatility, and it's not just some dude who's clogging up the lane. So I'd
And
be
can
here for it.
get out there at the 3-point line too.
Yes, and spread the floor more. So it's kind of a if he backs KP, you're not really losing much in terms of style of play. And he's tougher than KP. This a dude like you don't want to get no arguments with him. He's from Arkansas, so you know how they get down.
Yeah.
So I think that having that kind of mentality in the locker room would be helpful as well. So yeah, I love to have him as well. On that same team, upcoming free agents, PJ Tucker. What do you think about PJ?
I'm not gonna lie. I like his game. It's I guess because to me at first I didn't when he was in Houston I was meh on it. Like I felt like they were doing too much. Him playing center it was mad. It was weird.
Yeah,
But him as a more of a three uh, playing, being able to D up on KD the way that he did. Yeah, KD still drop numbers. He's one of the greatest shooters ever,
right.
one of the greatest scorers ever. So KD going KD, but still he's got in his face. He made him work, and that's all you can do for a player like that is try to make them work. So I would, yeah, I wouldn't mind going after him as well. Uh, because I'm trying to think like would he expect to start? Because if he would,
I don't
that
think
means
so.
that Dodo will have to go to the bench. So you'll be
Nah,
bringing Dodo. So
nah, sorry, buddy, that's not happening.
yeah.
I,
So as
I, I
long as
don't think.
he,
Yeah, go ahead.
that's what I'm saying. So as long as he's cool with coming off the bench because he's been starting for Milwaukee. Um, but yeah, as long as he don't mind coming off the bench, yeah, I would actually love it. Coming off the bench.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I like the guy, but I like our guards better, and I don't know that I would want him. I mean, the whole small ball thing was cool, I guess, for what it was, but like we don't need him playing a forward position unless he's playing a three. He can play a wing well, but like you said, I think it'll be between him and Dodo, and obviously everything's up in the air now that we have a new coach and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
we're kind of used to seeing Dodo starting lineup, but that may not be the case come October when the season starts. So who knows? But I think if I had a choice between him and Dodo starting, I think it would be Dodo starting, and then he would come off the bench. And of course, that could be fluid. In certain situations, like towards the playoffs, maybe you start PJ because the intensity that he has, and he's not the moment's not too big for him. So having that's another guy who I feel like would be really good at bringing that veteran mindset and that toughness that I think can kind of set the tone for other guys to be more engaged on defense as well. Next guy I want to discuss, just to throw it out there, because it's kind of ironic that this time last year he's playing for the Texas Legends, and now he's like showing up, stepping up when Chris Paul gets hurt, when Chris Paul, has a COVID issue and balling out as starting point guard for his Suns in his stead, and then come off the bench when CP's in the lineup and still contributing and being a great, at least from what I can tell, a really good, solid bench player, role player. What do you think about Campaign coming back and being a part of the roster?
How old is he?
He is, check, a second. I know he's youngest or younger. He's 26.
He's 26? Then that would be the young guard that
to replace Jimmy.
Yeah. He'll be able to replace him. Plus he have Kyle, and then boom, he got the young guard for that position. So yeah, I like it.
I don't think there's a chance in hell they let him go.
No, absolutely not.
But if they, because they gotta figure out what they do with Chris Paul. Obviously they're gonna resign him, but his deal right now, I think Chris Paul's making 40 or close to 40 now, and he's gonna want more than that now.
Yeah.
So who knows if there's space? I have no idea. And they got to make sure they have enough space to re-sign DeAndre Ayton, because he's the same draft class as Luka, so they're gonna eventually have to re-sign him as well. So if you look at him being a max guy, they already got a max guy, Devin Booker. They're about to have re-sign Chris Paul. That may not be enough room. I don't know how their cap space is. So all I'm saying is, if there's not enough room, we need to make a phone call.
Yeah, it's funny. My wife said that Chris Paul might hang it up after this because of his age and finally getting there. It's like, I don't know. He might want to run it back one more time just to see about it.
There's too much money to be made, and now, if depending on how, I can see him being a hired gun. Like if I was him, I'd be like, yo, I'm only signing 1-year deals the rest of my career.
I don't need an agent.
A word, because it's like now it's like, because we already talked about, me and you always have our discussion about Chris Paul, but I think we all understand that he is, like, we don't say he's not a good basketball player.
Exactly.
That's never been the argument. So if you have two eyes, you can see that the proof is in the pudding. Wherever he goes, the team gets better. So now if he's able to, first of all, if he can win a championship, but if he does win a championship, now it's just like, dog, why would I sign long-term? It's like, it's almost like Kawhi. It's like, bro, you see what I do. You know what I do. So
exactly.
If I were him, and I'm not, but it may just be a 1 year, maybe like a 1-1, or one year with the player option the second year, and then just have that. And it's just like, y'all ain't trying to talk about no money? All right, bet. Let me go over here. They got a young core. Let me coach them up and get them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd be crazy to watch.
That'd be dope.
Yeah.
But if he does that bag is going to be heavy. If that bag is too heavy, Phoenix Suns is okay. Campaign, if it's just too much, it's too much. And we got a spot for him if he needs a place to land softly. Yeah. But he's doing great. I'm happy for him. Because we had him in our summer league a couple years. It's crazy how between him and then we had Jeremy Lin in our summer league, and we had we tend to give these guys that we look at it and they got potential, but then we never sign them and they go somewhere else and ball out. Yeah. But yeah, so I would love him. Is there anybody else that you could think of that you'd be like, if we can get him, we should get him?
So we're talking free agents?
Yeah.
Only free agents or also restricted free agents?
Well, I mean, if you got a restricted free agent, let's
we wouldn't be able to get him.
I'm not even mentioning. I knew you were gonna say that. It's a done deal already. It sounded good 6 months ago, or 2 months ago, even maybe. But and the thing about it is too, which is weird. It's like, okay, everybody's talking about Trae Young is the greatest, the best player in the world or whatever, but it's like John Collins 6 months ago was ready to leave that team because he didn't like the way Trae Young played. And now you look at how things flip. So that's why I look at it as like, if they can get through that, KP and Luka got to figure it out.
Exactly.
I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they got to figure that out. But
winning heals everything.
Winning, yeah, absolutely. So now that's why he's obviously the main, like, if there was like a cork board in like Nico Harris's office and he's got like different people to get, he would be at the top of the list, but they're matching everything. They're matching everything, bro.
But yeah, no, that was just as far as getting fun. That would it would be him. And then also, if we're not able to get Kyle, I wouldn't mind looking at Mike Conley. Have a backup point guard, have him come off the bench. Because I just feel like for players like Kyle and Mike, having them come off the bench will end up extending their career. I guess they're not playing the heavy minutes. They're not. The team's not. We wouldn't have to heavily rely on them. Like, just give us 15 minutes, possibly, to where that 15 minutes is Luka resting time, and then maybe you play a little bit of extra with Luka just so that he'll be off the ball at times. So that's what I think it'd be pretty good to look at with those type of older point guards. So, but as far as the free agency, there's not much else. Those, like I said, DeMar is my number one. He stacked that with the win with Kyle Lowry as well, and then you just setting up trade partners to bring in some defense, and then maybe if you have some money left over, then you can go after Portis, which will be Bobby Portis as well, which would be nice.
Yeah,
and I think with those three, you won. To me, you won the free agency, and about how you set up your trade. If you got additional defense, if you got better defensively on your bench, you moving forward. You moving forward at that point.
Yeah, I think certainly that's the ideal scenario. I a lot of these people that like I don't know that Milwaukee really even lets a BP even or Bobby Portis even like I think if they're smart they resign them, right? But we've seen several examples of teams that we look at before and been like, let him walk, and then they let him walk, and it's like, for real? So I mean, obviously the potential is there, but I think I know DeMar's one and one
number one.
I think he's probably number one for me too, but mainly only because he's probably the most realistic shot. There's reports that we're not even going to talk about on this show that have popped up. That's just like not even worth mentioning. But those are ones that's like, why even bring that up? I see it. But it's just like those are not realistic. Well, I mean, they're realistic in the fact that they could happen, but it's not happening. But I think DeMar is one that is really there. There's some legitimate possibilities there. So I think just based on that alone, I think that he's 1A. I think if there's, to be honest with you, if there's opportunity to get Mike Conley, I'll take Mike Conley over him. Only because he's a point guard, he's a lead guard, so for sure Luka can play. Look, I'm watching these games that Slovenia is playing. Luka's playing off the ball, and they are dominating. Like they get folks up out of here. So I think there's an element.
I saw that Angola game. Woo. I started watching halfway through the second. It was like, bro, it's already 35. I'm going.
It's over. It's already over. It's already over. In games where they usually have like scores in the 80s, they had 67 points in the last game at halftime. So it's like they're running folks off the court. But Luka is, he's playing point, but he's also playing off the ball more than he does here. And I think there's some stuff that can be unlocked with that helps him because even if he's on the court, his usage rate is not as high because he's not dominating the ball as much if you have somebody else that can do it. So if you can have a guy like Conley, who is a born leader, a great defender, great offensive player in terms of facilitating and scoring. If you put my feet in the fire, maybe pick between those two guys, with DeMar and Mike, I would pick him. But I think DeMar, like I said before, is a more realistic option because I don't think Utah lets Conley walk. But also, if they do let him walk, I think his price tag is higher than what DeMar's would potentially be. And so that's why I think it's more realistic, but more reasonable to think that DeMar is a better option or a more realistic option. But we'll have plenty more of this stuff, y'all, because again, the season is not even over yet, and we still have
next week.
Exactly, the finals start next week, and so there's even more stuff to come ahead. So we'll be here. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we appreciate you guys. Please like and subscribe. And once you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can be notified whenever new videos are posted. Anything else you got, Will, before we get out of here?
Nah, come on, Nico. Go ahead, get DeMar for us.
Get to work. Get to work. All right, guys. Appreciate you watching. As always, this is Jay. Got Will here. And we will see you guys next time.